Art is no game.
That's a dream in itself.
Spielberg was 26 and he'd been begging to make this movie. He finally got the green light from producers Richard Zanuck and David Brown, made the film, took it to Cannes, and won Best Screenplay. Pauline Kael said it was one of the best debut films she'd ever seen. The kid had made something special. Universal pulled the film from theaters after 2 weeks. The movie was based on something that actually happened in Texas in 1969. A young couple, Bobby Dent and his wife, kidnapped a highway patrolman at gunpoint because they wanted to see their kids who'd been taken by foster care. What followed was a bizarre slow-motion chase across the state with over 100 police cars. The Dents would stop for gas, stop for bathroom breaks, and the whole convoy would just wait for them. They had no plan. They just wanted to see their children. When they finally got to the foster home, police shot Bobby dead. He was 22 years old. Spielberg turned that into a film, and the studio didn't know what to do with it. They'd originally planned to open small, let it build, but somewhere along the way they got cold feet and dumped it into 250 theaters at once. In 1974, that was the studio basically saying, "We're done with this, let's move on." And the timing was bad. That whole Bonnie and Clyde thing of rooting for outlaws on the run had cooled off years earlier. Audiences didn't want to cheer for criminals anymore, especially criminals who get killed at the end with nothing resolved. Spielberg's name meant nothing yet. Goldie Hawn was supposed to be the draw, and she wasn't enough. The movie made $12 million worldwide on $3 million, so technically it was profitable. But for Universal, it was an embarrassment. They cut their losses. The funny part is what happened next. The same producers who watched this thing die turned around and handed Spielberg his next project anyway. That project was Jaws. This was supposed to be David Lean's movie. The guy who made Lawrence of Arabia had spent a year developing J.G. Ballard's novel. It's about a British boy who gets separated from his parents and ends up in a Japanese camp during World War II. Then Lean walked away and Spielberg stepped in. He admitted later he'd secretly wanted to direct this thing from the moment he read the book. This was Spielberg trying to prove he could be taken seriously. The Color Purple had won him a Directors Guild Award a couple years earlier, but critics still said he couldn't handle serious material. They said he was an entertainer, not a real artist, and he wanted to shut those critics up. He got his chance. Cast a 13-year-old kid nobody had ever heard of named Christian Bale. Shot on location in China with thousands of extras. Made a 154-minute epic with no stars, no aliens, and no dinosaurs. The movie earned 6 Oscar nominations and won nothing. That same year, The Last Emperor, another Asian epic, swept the Oscars with 9 wins. Empire of the Sun made $22 million domestically. After that came what people call Spielberg's dark period. He went back to blockbusters, another Indiana Jones, then Jurassic Park, but by his own account he was bored and uninspired just going through the motions. It took him 6 years to try serious filmmaking again. Schindler's List was the one that finally proved he could do it. This movie is about the 1839 revolt aboard the slave ship and the legal battle that followed over whether the Africans on board were property or free men. Anthony Hopkins and Morgan Freeman were in it. On paper, it looked like another Schindler's List. But the R rating killed the younger audience, and the film had a structural problem that Spielberg couldn't solve. The scenes on the slave ship were devastating, exactly as horrifying as they needed to be. But the courtroom scenes that made up most of the second half were boring. Spielberg said he wouldn't let his own kids watch the violent parts, so they only saw the courtroom stuff. They walked out because they were bored, and that was the whole problem with the movie right there. Even Spielberg's kids couldn't sit through the trial scenes. 4 years after Schindler's List, he still hadn't figured out how to make a legal argument as compelling as a massacre. A month before the premiere, the movie almost didn't come out at all. An author named Barbara Chase Rabu sued for $10 million, claiming they'd stolen the screenplay from her novel. She wanted a judge to block the release entirely. 4 days before opening night, the injunction got denied. The film came out on schedule. She tried again in France to stop the European release, then eventually dropped everything. But here's what came out in the court documents. The screenwriter admitted under oath that he actually had read her book before pitching the project to Spielberg. He'd initially said he hadn't. That didn't help DreamWorks' case at all. Spielberg made this one in secret. He'd just wrapped War of the Worlds that summer, and he went straight into production on Munich without telling anyone what he was doing. He knew the subject matter would piss people off, which is why he made it in secrecy and as fast as he could. The movie is about what Israel did after the 1972 Munich Olympics massacre, where 11 Israeli athletes were taken hostage and killed by a Palestinian group. Eric Bana plays the agent leading a team that hunts down the people believed responsible. The backlash hit from every direction. The Zionist Organization of America called for a boycott. Israeli officials were so unhappy with the film's moral ambiguity that Spielberg was basically told not to visit the country. The Israeli consul general in Los Angeles called him naive in public. It opened in Israel to $140,000 across 30 screens. The theaters were empty. Spielberg had been trying to recreate his best year ever. In 1993, Jurassic Park made all the money and Schindler's List won all the awards. In 2005, War of the Worlds was supposed to make the money, and Munich was supposed to win the awards. It got 5 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Director, but won nothing. And it finished about $20 million short of breaking even. Spielberg had been chasing this one for almost 25 years, and when he finally got it made, he brought back Melissa Matheson to write the script. She was the one who'd written E.T. back in 1982, 34 years since they'd worked together, and now they were doing it again. That was supposed to be the story, the big reunion. Turned out to be a goodbye instead. Matheson got diagnosed with cancer while they were finishing the movie. She died in November 2015, 7 months before anyone got to see the film. Disney put it in the big summer slot July 1st. Spielberg plus family film plus summer should be easy money, but opening weekend it made just $18 million. 4th place. And you know what came in 3rd? The Purge election year. A Spielberg movie for children lost the weekend to a horror franchise about legalized murder. Next weekend, Secret Life of Pets showed up and it dropped 60%. Weekend after that, Ice Age buried it. By the time it was done, Disney had lost somewhere around $70 million. Biggest financial disaster of Spielberg's career. The budget is really what did it. You make this movie for $60 million, maybe $70, and a modest return is fine. But Spielberg made it for $140, which is what he spent on Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and Indiana Jones has Harrison Ford on the poster. This one has a cartoon giant who farts. Spielberg saw the original West Side Story when he was a kid and had wanted to direct a musical ever since. 50 years of wanting. When he finally got to make it, he called it everything he'd always wanted to say about something he'd loved his whole life. It came out and critics went crazy. 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 Oscar nominations including Best Picture. People saying it might actually be better than the 1961 version, which won Best Picture. But none of that translated to ticket sales. The movie cost $100 million and made $76 million worldwide. 3 things killed it, and they all hit at once. COVID pushed the release a full year from late 2020 to December 2021. By then, older audiences, exactly the people who want to see a classic musical, still weren't comfortable going back to theaters. Then Spider-Man No Way Home came out the following weekend and ate the entire market. And the big one, the whole leading man controversy. Ansel Elgort was cast as Tony. After filming had wrapped, a woman came forward and said Elgort had assaulted her in 2014. She'd been 17. He was 20. Elgort denied the assault but admitted to the relationship. Even put out a statement calling himself disgusted and deeply ashamed of how he'd behaved. He later deleted it. Boycotts took off online immediately. Spielberg could have cut him out. When Kevin Spacey got accused, Ridley Scott removed him from all the money in the world and reshot with Christopher Plummer. Would have cost Spielberg maybe $2-3 million to do the same thing. He didn't do it. Whether that was principle or money or just not wanting to deal with it, the outcome was the same. People saw Elgort's face on the poster and said no thanks. Spielberg came up with this one in 1999, but he waited 23 years to make it because his parents were still alive. The story was personal. When he was 16, he found out his mother was having an affair with his father's best friend. He told her he knew, but he never told his dad. His parents divorced when he was 19, and his dad took the blame publicly, let the kids believe it was his fault. Spielberg knew the truth the whole time but said nothing. He called this movie $40 million of therapy. Problem is, would you pay for a ticket to watch Spielberg's mom cheat on his dad? Most people wouldn't, and that's exactly what happened here. It made $45 million on a $40 million budget, which sounds close to breaking even until you do the math. Hollywood rule is you need about 2.5 times your budget to actually turn a profit. The Fabelmans needed $100 million to break even. It got 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, and won nothing, lost over $50 million.